U.S. strike on Syria on hold. High-stakes diplomacy is now in high gear. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry and Russian Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov are meeting in Geneva today. They're going to be trying to hammer out all these details on Moscow's plans to destroy Syria's chemical weapons.
The diplomatic wrangling is well underway at the United Nations. Envoys from the 5 Permanent Security Council member states met Wednesday to hash out details of a proposed resolution aimed at disarming Syria's chemical weapons.
I hope that the current discussions related to safeguarding Syria's chemical weapon stocks will lead to the Security Council playing an effective role in promoting an end to the Syrian tragedy.
The UN has also released a report in which it has accused both Syrian government and rebel fighters of committing war crimes.
Failure to bring about a political settlement has allowed the conflict not only to deepen in its intransigence, but also to widen, expanding to new actors and to new, previously unimaginable crimes.
While the talk is about chemical weapons, it's conventional arms which have killed most of the 100,000 people since 2011. This unverified footage is said to show the aftermath of an airstrike in Al-Bab near Aleppo. Human rights groups say fighting in Syria has recently intensified, trapping more of its people.
As Russia and the US prepare for face-to-face talks over chemical weapons in Syria, Vladimir Putin has issued a direct appeal to the American people. He's written an article in the New York Times warning that any US strike against Syria could unleash a new wave of terrorism. In this morning's edition, he says millions around the world increasingly see America not as a model of democracy, but as relying solely on brute force. A strike would increase violence and unleash a new wave of terrorism. It could throw the entire system of international law and order out of balance.
Russian officials have proposed that Syrian forces hand over their chemical weapons to international monitors. But first, they want US forces to abandon their military posture against Syria. American personnel have been preparing to strike if Congress gives them appeal.
We believe that these talks in Geneva may only get underway late on Thursday with the late arrival of Sergey Lavrov and the Russian delegation, and we hear from the State Department that they may run into 2 days, possibly even into Saturday, and that John Kerry, the Secretary of State, is expecting to meet here in Geneva as well with Lakhdar Brahimi, the joint UN Arab League envoy, in the context of these talks. Well, when they're all in town, these 2 delegations, along with large numbers of technical experts accompanying them both to look at the details of these plans, they will get down to focusing, I think, on 2 key issues. The first issue: how is this plan going to work? This Russian proposal to take Syria's stockpiles of chemical weapons and put them under international control and supervision, effectively taking them out of play in the context of the Syrian civil war. It is a plan that has already been described by some experts as fanciful. Nevertheless, there is a plan, it is on paper, we are told, and it has been handed by the Russians to the Americans for them to look at ahead of those talks. The second issue may prove more immediately contentious, and that is the question of how to enforce this plan. What its legal parameters essentially might be, whether to lay it down in the context of a UN Security Council resolution, as the United States and its allies would like, one with legally binding obligations backed up by the threat of force if in the case of non-compliance, or, as the Russians have said, they prefer no threat of force and a much looser declaration or statement from the Security Council that is not legally binding. These are crucial issues. They are 2 very different views on the way forward, and I think they will form the basis of some pretty tough negotiations in the days to come.